Hey man, here's the brutal truth. Nobody ever teaches you in school. And you don't truly understand it until you've bled emotionally, trying to love a woman the way you thought was right. The deeper you dive into understanding women, their psychology, their patterns, their emotional codes, the harder it becomes to actually love them the way you once imagined. Because once you peel back the fantasy, the fairy tales, the sweet little lies society feeds you, what you find underneath isn't always pretty. You see something raw and complicated. You realize that so much of what they say isn't really what they mean, and so much of what they feel isn't grounded in reality, but is shaped by impulse, validation, and shifting moods. When that realization finally hits, when it all clicks, you don't hate women. Far from it. But something inside you shifts. You can't love blindly anymore. You can't give your heart recklessly without restraint, because now you see too much. When you didn't know, it was easier. You took her words at face value, believed in forever when she said it. You thought love meant loyalty, passion meant permanence. You were naive, but in that innocence, you were happy. Then something changes. Maybe she cheated or ghosted or replaced you like you never mattered at all. The mask slips. You start watching patterns, noticing contradictions. You study what really attracts women versus what they say attracts them. And what you find? It hurts. Because now you realize that for most women, love is often a fleeting experience, not a commitment. It's based on how they feel in the moment, not on what's real or lasting. That realization doesn't turn you bitter, but it does make you cautious. You start noticing how quickly loyalty shifts, how she can be obsessed with you one week and bored the next, how she can cry about losing you while texting the next guy before her tears even dry. You see how much they crave attention, not because they're evil, but because they've been conditioned to equate validation with self-worth. Suddenly, love doesn't feel sacred anymore. It feels transactional, conditional, fragile, and the deeper you understand this, the harder it becomes to offer your heart freely. Your mind keeps reminding you, she might love you deeply today, but by next Friday, she could forget you entirely. You begin to see the social conditioning, how modern culture teaches women to chase feelings over loyalty, to follow butterflies instead of consistency, to walk away the moment a man stops igniting her emotions. You watch society celebrate her leaving a good man if he no longer sparks her fire, but condemn a man for doing the same. You see the double standards, the shifting expectations. You watch how masculinity is punished for being stable, while chaos is rewarded and glamorized. And when you truly understand all of this, you stop idealizing love. You stop chasing the dream you once believed in, and part of you grieves because you wanted to believe you really did. Here's the twist. The more you understand women, the easier it becomes to attract them. You know the games now. You've studied the patterns. You've learned how to speak to their emotions, how to trigger their imagination, how to create the illusion. You can become the man who gets attention, desire, affection, but you also know what it's all built on, nothing solid. You know that the moment you stop feeding that emotional fantasy, she'll drift away. Not because you failed, but because her attention span was never meant to stay rooted in depth. It was meant to float, to chase novelty, to feel the rush. Now you can play the game, but your heart isn't in it anymore. You remember how simple it used to feel. Just love her, be loyal, give your best, and maybe she'd stay. But now you know it doesn't work like that. You've watched men do everything right and still get left for a guy with better timing, more mystery, or just a stronger Instagram profile. You've seen women build something real with men for years, only to throw it all away in a weekend because it didn't feel right anymore. And all of it chips away at your belief in love. You don't hate women, you just no longer worship them. You stop putting her on a pedestal, and with that, the ability to love the way you once did quietly dies inside you. You understand now that women don't fall in love with logic. They fall for feeling, for energy, for presence, and sometimes for illusion. The man who can create that emotional atmosphere, who can maintain that vibe, they obsess over him. But if he stops for even a moment, if the mystery fades, if the energy shifts, if the emotional high drops, they disconnect. It's not personal, it's just how they're wired. And you, the man who understands this, find yourself emotionally detached by default. You see women through a filter of awareness, and sometimes that awareness feels more like a curse than a gift. Quick break. Close your eyes for a second. Picture her, the girl you've always wanted. Feel what it would be like to actually have her. Now open your eyes, because here's the truth. Right now, you're invisible to her. You're getting outcompeted by guys with more money, better looks, higher status, and stronger game. You're playing a rigged game, and you're losing. But I've spent the last 35 years mastering this, studying, testing, and finally finding the secrets to get the girls I always wanted. You want to stop getting ignored? You want her chasing you? Then you need to wake up and act. Click the link in the comments if you are truly committed and take the first step toward becoming that guy. Few spots left. Be fast or miss out your last chance to make her yours. Let's get back to it. When she argues with you, not to reach understanding, but to feel a sense of power. When she tests you, not because she's unsure, but because she craves the feeling of being dominated by your emotional control. You'll see it when she cries over the pain she caused, expecting you to comfort her. You'll see it when she leaves and expects you to chase her just so she can feel wanted again. And you'll understand it all. You might even have compassion for it, but that blind, trusting, devotional kind of love, that kind grows harder to access because now you love with your eyes wide open. And that kind of love always comes with limits. You stop getting mad when she leaves. You stop over-analyzing when she changes because now you predict it. You see the cycle clearly. You watch her grow bored of good men. You watch her chase chaos, drawn to storms even when she says she wants peace. You witness the contradictions. She says she wants safety, but craves the man who triggers her insecurities. She says she wants calm, but reaches for the drama. And you understand, it's not about logic. It's about emotional addiction. With that awareness, you find yourself less excited, less impressed, less willing to dive deep. Not because you're cold, but because you finally see the cost. Here's the part no one talks about. When you reach this level of understanding, it gets lonely. Because now, you walk into a room and you see through everything. The girl smiling at you, you know she wants to feel seen. The one acting cold, testing you. The one texting at midnight, bored and not serious. Suddenly, real connection becomes rare. You can't unsee what you've learned. You can't pretend anymore. You're too grounded to play along, too self-aware to get manipulated, too detached to be seduced by surface-level affection. And here's the irony. Understanding women doesn't make you hate them. It just makes you love them from a distance. You begin to see how much of her love is tied to how you make her feel in the moment. And when you stop feeding that rush of attention, that emotional roller coaster, the warmth starts to fade. She doesn't necessarily hate you, she just drifts. She won't always say it, but her energy changes. Her body stiffens, her enthusiasm dulls, and you, the man who's finally aware, don't take it personally. You clock it. You recognize the emotional distance before she even admits it. You see the slow fade, the loss of spark, the mental checking out. And now, instead of begging or chasing, you just detach quietly because you already know what comes next. You no longer believe that love alone is enough to keep a woman. You've seen the truth. Respect is what holds her polarity. Emotional mystery. Your centered masculine energy. Not flowers, not sweet texts, not constant reassurance, and that's what makes it harder. Love used to be a language you spoke with sincerity, but now it feels like a code you have to hack, a rhythm you must control. Every time you let your guard down, every time you love like you used to, she pulls back. Because to her, predictability is boring. The moment you become fully emotionally available, she begins to test you to death, not because she wants to ruin it, but because she's wired to feel more alive through tension. So now, you love from the mind before the heart. You assess, you observe, you hold your frame, you study her patterns, and while that keeps you safe, it also keeps you slightly detached, even with the women who are genuine, even with the ones who actually mean well. Because your scars aren't just emotional, they're psychological. You've been rewired. You don't romanticize her anymore. You analyze her. You don't fall fast, you filter, and the ones who sense that emotional control either rise to meet it or label you emotionally unavailable. But deep down, you know this isn't unavailability. It's protection, it's wisdom, it's the price you pay for seeing reality clearly. There's a heavy weight that comes with truly knowing how attraction really works. You realize now that a woman's desire isn't always tied to character or kindness. It's tied to energy, to presence, to the emotional story you create inside her mind. That's why the bad boy archetype works. That's why emotionally unavailable men often get flooded with attention. It's not the pain women crave, it's the emotional high, the unpredictability, the challenge, the illusion of depth. When you truly grasp that, love starts to feel less like surrender and more like a strategy. And that shift, it changes you forever. You can't love like a fool when you've been trained to think like a king. You begin to see the difference between affection and investment. Affection is easy. She can give that because she's lonely, bored, or just seeking comfort. But investment, that's different. It demands patience, sacrifice, humility, and most women today aren't taught to invest. They're taught to receive, to test men endlessly until one earns their submission. When you understand this dynamic, you start noticing how rare it is for a woman to build with a man without questioning his worth at every step. So you stay vigilant. You stop pouring your time and energy into anyone who doesn't reciprocate. That calm selectiveness, it makes you attractive, but also emotionally distant. You'll hear women say things like, "I just want a real man," but when they get one, they don't know how to handle him. They confuse your groundedness for coldness, your detachment for disinterest, your clarity for ego, because they're used to emotional chaos. Men who chase, validate, apologize for everything. But you've unplugged. You don't play the validation game. You don't explain every move. And because of that, many women can't place you. If they can't label you, they don't know how to control you. And right there is the real shift. From being desired to being feared by the emotionally immature. The more you study women, the more you see that what they say they want and what they actually respond to are often two different things. They say they want honesty, but respond to mystery. They say they want vulnerability, but get aroused by dominance. They say they want a gentle man, but chase the one who leaves them guessing. Once you've seen this contradiction enough times, love stops feeling safe. It starts feeling like a game where the rules change with the mood. And you, the man who's awake, stop playing to win her heart and start playing to protect your own. You remember when love was your goal. Now it's a bonus, because the more you know, the more you realize that peace, real peace, is the real prize. Building your purpose, your mind, your inner world, that's what gives fulfillment. If a woman enters that world with grace and clarity, she's welcome. But if she brings chaos, confusion, or fantasy, you show her the door. Not with anger, not with drama, but with quiet, masculine detachment. Because love, when misunderstood, will cost you everything. But peace? Peace rebuilds you, makes you whole, makes you untouchable. And here's what most men will never admit. The more they understand women, the more they crave solitude, because peace is addictive. Once you've had it, lived it, protected it, you never want to trade it again. Not for beauty, not for romance, not for sex, because now you see what's behind all that expectation, emotional instability, performance pressure. And unless she's done the deep inner work to bring peace instead of drama, depth instead of confusion, loyalty instead of tests, you just don't have the energy for it anymore. You've evolved, and not every woman deserves access to this version of you. So the next time someone asks, "Why don't you just open up more?" or "Why are you so guarded?" you'll smile, not with bitterness, but with clarity. Because only you know the nights you stayed up overthinking, the times you gave everything and still got played, the years you wasted trying to be good enough for a woman who didn't even know what she wanted. You're not guarded out of fear. You're guarded out of wisdom. You're not cold. You're focused. You're not closed off. You're discerning. And that shift in you, that's not brokenness, that's growth. And no one can take that away from you. You begin to understand why so many men go silent after heartbreak. It's not because they hate women, it's because they finally saw it all. The emotional contradictions, the endless testing, the lack of accountability, the shifting stories. And now they sit in stillness, not because they're weak, but because they're processing the truth, that love, in its modern form, is often a performance. Unless a woman has done deep inner work, her version of love will feel like walking through a dream made of smoke, beautiful to watch, impossible to hold. So you don't blame her, but you stop reaching for her too. You start craving a different kind of woman, the one who's battled her own mind, who's questioned her emotional whims, who understands that loyalty is more powerful than passion. She's rare, she's quiet, she doesn't chase drama, and when you find her, it won't be loud, it'll be calm, it'll feel like clarity. But until that woman appears, you stay alone. Not because you're broken, but because you've learned to respect your own energy more than temporary affection. And that's what wisdom does. It gives you standards, not from ego, but from experience. Because now you see how attraction works. You see how women are often drawn to the man who doesn't chase, who stays calm, who remains a mystery. But you also know that same attraction fades when she tries to control him, and fails. You've seen how respect dies when submission isn't handed to her. You felt the shift the moment she realized she couldn't manipulate your emotions and suddenly labeled you emotionally unavailable. But what she really meant was, you're not easy to move. And to her that feels threatening, because most men bend. But you've become unshakable. You understand now that a woman doesn't always want the truth. She wants her truth, the one that feels good, that flatters her emotions, that fits her narrative. And when you speak from logic, from clarity, from masculine truth, she might hear you, but she won't always accept you, because her heart is often wired for fantasy. And that fantasy, it keeps her chasing, and you, the man who's awake, stop running, stop trying to fix, stop hoping. You start living on your own terms, your heart guarded but not closed, your mind sharp, your purpose clear. And in that space you find something rare, a peace no woman can take away, a power no heartbreak can diminish, a freedom born from knowing the truth about love, about women, about yourself. And finally, in that quiet understanding, you find the freedom to love again, but this time on your own terms. And that's the brutal truth most men learn too late. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. If this message spoke to you or gave you something to think about, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new drop. I've got more real talk, more growth, and more power coming your way. So stay locked in. And if you're going through something right now, just remember, your silence can say more than 1,000 words ever could. Take care of yourself, keep rising, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.